You're listening to Bigfoot Club Podcast, cryptid sports entertainment for life.
Hey everybody, Bigfoot Bob, Bigfoot Club. I'm here with my nephew, Sasquatch Steven. Sasquatch Steven, say what's up.
What's up?
Yes. This is season 7, episode 3. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm really good.
Yeah. It's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. We just started March. This is episode 3 of season 7.
Mm-hmm.
I am pretty happy with my job.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the dentist this week.
You did? And a couple weeks ago, too.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. So I am pretty happy.
I feel powerful.
Yeah. Anyway, how are you doing?
Doing good. We're doing good. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not even gonna put it out there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you already know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Boy's doing good. Blair's doing good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I haven't been this happy since 92.
92? What happened in 92?
When the Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
Oh, I thought you were excited for my 3rd birthday.
Yeah, I'm always excited for that.
The 3rd birthday?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I was carrying you a lot. Or you were riding on my back a lot.
Mm-hmm. Was I eating pizza then?
You're probably eating lasagna.
Lasagna?
Yeah.
I don't like lasagna. Oh, that's just gross.
So, feels weird.
Feels weird?
Yeah, it feels weird. This season seems a little weird to me right now. I don't know why. But I'm pretty excited about this season. We got some potential people coming up. Today we have a guest today that had some Bigfoot experiences in the California, Sierra, Fresno area. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that. Potentially we have a couple people that I'm pretty excited about. And then Uncle Richard's got his show starting this year. I don't know when. Mm-mm. So I'm excited about that. So El Gato Negro. So I'm pretty excited about that.
It's El Gato.
El Gato.
El Gato.
Why are we saying it like that?
I don't know. I got it from you.
I don't rightly recollect.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So, yeah, and then we got to get my cousin Joe on.
Yes.
I know I can say this. I'm trying to book Monica Gallagher. She's a cryptid artist. Trying to get her on, and I'm gonna put it out there in the universe. I'm trying to get Kyle McDowell on the show. He was on Alaskan Killer Bigfoot on Discovery Channel. Mm-hmm. I've reached out to him several times, and I know he's really, really busy. And Kyle, if you're listening to, hey man, we're open to have you on. Mm-hmm. We're very flexible. I know he's really busy.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to get him on, and then we want to get your friend on as well.
Yeah.
Should I put that out there? Or?
Yeah, I mean you can put it out there without saying his name, but he's really, really, really good at calligraphy. Did you forget about that?
No, I didn't. I just didn't know you were going to slip it in there. I didn't know that. So
if you were listening, we did say his name on that, and we did.
So go back to that episode.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say which one it was. Episode 1, episode 2.
But we will say it is this season. And how many episodes are we in?
3.
This is the 3rd one, so it shouldn't be that hard. You just got to listen to about a good 3 hours, but or 2 actually. But we did mention his name, and we did say that he was really good at calligraphy.
And his penmanship was outstanding. Yes.
Yeah. So
how did you feel about last week's guest, Mr. Aragon?
He was interesting. He had some really good stories.
Yeah.
He got funny at the end.
Yeah, he did.
I was not expecting.
Totally threw me off.
Yeah,
on that one, so.
we had to look at each other, and
I was wondering if he listened to the show before.
I know. I felt like that was planned.
Yeah.
Like he had a plan there, and he was like, "Yeah, man,
I'm gonna slip this in there."
I'm gonna go ahead and just throw this in here because these guys sound like they are down with that.
Down with the ghetto bass sound.
Yeah, and the bass sound was Bigfoot's donger.
Yeah, no, his donger.
Oh yeah, that's right, his donger, and the Bigfoots were attracted to it.
Yeah, the female Bigfoots.
Female Bigfoots.
Let's make that clear. Female Bigfoot.
I mean, you never know.
Because if a Bigfoot wanted him, a male Bigfoot, there's nothing he can do about it. So
yeah. He said it so powerful there.
So powerful. But anyway,
there's nothing you got down there.
So yeah. And then I'm gonna put it out there also. We're going to be a guest on someone else's podcast this month. Mm-hmm. We're going to be a guest.
Well, it's already out there. It's already planned.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we're going to be a guest on Our Best Behavior with Kelly Zurich, and I'm super excited about that.
We're excited about it, but as soon as we're about to get on, we get nervous.
Yeah,
we always do that because we're. Yeah. I don't know. When we're doing our show, it's it's a pay-per-view. Yeah. Whatever happens.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to be on Our Best Behavior. We have to be on Our Best Behavior.
Yes. She's going to be interviewing us.
I know.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
I don't know. Like, what if she's like, did you get bullied in high school? I don't know if I'm ready to talk about that.
Yeah, because I think when she was on our show, she was asking us questions.
Yeah.
She was asking us questions.
So we need to go on her show, and then we need to ask the questions on pay it back. Well, not pay it back, but
yeah. Hopefully her son Mac's going to be on.
Yeah.
McCoy.
I would think.
Because I was listening to her show this when I was driving in this week, and they were talking. She's probably going to hate me for this, but they were talking about The Outsiders.
One of my all-time favorite
movies. One of our all-time favorites. Mm-hmm. And I think Mac was reading it for his class, his English class, and he didn't know who the main character was. Mm. And so while I was listening to it, I was messaging her. I go, "It's Pony Boy," and she goes, "Oh yes, Pony Boy."
Did she not read it?
She did, but I think it's been a while since she's read it.
Man, it was one of those books that stuck with me, and even after that, like I would ask the book teacher, like, "Hey, are we going to read this again?" You already read that last year. I want to read it again. Well, I'll read it on my own time. But no, I used to always get mad when we would read that out loud, and I remember you're gonna know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
It'd be a different kid, and it would do it, and they were just the teacher never corrected it, and it pissed me off. But they would be like, they were reading the page, like, yeah, so the greasers would come, and then they meet up with the socks, and I'm like, what?
The socks?
They said it in the beginning. The socialists, like it's socialist, like, come on, man.
Soch, yeah.
It's sos. And they're like, yeah, no, they just kept going with socks.
I never said this story. I don't know if I said it on the podcast before, but when we were living in Tulsa, 2011, I was able to go to the Outsider's house.
And I envied you.
So I was working for Service Master at the time, and we were doing primarily just like floods and water restoration, but then we were also delving into like a fire restoration. Yeah. So the owner of the house is not the owner that's now. It was another owner.
Mm. And who's the owner now?
The owner now is the rapper from the House of Pain.
Yes. It's Danny Boy.
Danny O'Brien?
Danny O'Brien.
Or no, Danny Danny Boy?
Just Danny Boy.
Danny Boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Someone's going to probably correct us on that.
Edit that out. Edit it out.
But it was before he owned it. It was another owner. I forgot who the owner was, but apparently he was trying to start a fire in the house and then he was trying to collect on the insurance policy. Mm-hmm. And so we went there. It was me and Derico Derek Scarborough. He was my boss at the time, but I used to call him Derrico because he looked like Jericho. And so it was me and him. We went there and we assessed it, and we determined that it was a false claim. Mm-hmm. Like someone was trying to purposely start a fire there.
I never asked you, but how did y'all figure that out? Like, what was the assessment?
Because I think what it was is that it was in the kitchen. Okay. Mm-hmm. Started in the kitchen. And so you could see where the fire had started. Okay. Because like there was fire above, like at a certain point, like say like 4 feet or 3 feet, and it would go up. You could see the wall get burned, but there's nothing below it. And so when we walked outside, there was a steel trash can outside that was charred. And someone had put it out there, like to throw it away or something. Mm-hmm. And we had assessed that someone had got a trash can, put stuff in it, set it in there, set it on fire, and it started to fire inside the house. But they stopped it and then took it out. So he was trying to get into the claim of it. So anyway, just wanted to say that. Man, that was a really long story. I don't know if
no, that's great. I mean, because I never asked you that. You just said that it was false. And I was like, I was so angry. I was like, who would want to fucking like burn that down?
Yeah, because like I was not allowed to take pictures there. They told us we couldn't do it.
I wanted,
and so
you should have still done it.
I was with Derek, and he was watching me like a hawk.
No, he would have been all right.
No,
and if he would have done it, he goes, guess what, pal? You just made the list.
Not everybody's gonna know that joke. But I did want to say that there's like in the front yard, there's like a bent in the fence. There's like a bar that's bent, and then from them jumping over.
Yep.
I jumped over it too.
Did you really?
Yeah, I jumped over it too.
Nice. I think it was Dally and who jumped? Because there was only a couple people that did it. I think it was Dally and
Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, he was Dally and Tom Cruise's character. I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name either.
But I think they both jumped over it while everybody else went through.
So to get back to, I was listening to On Our Best Behavior, so she was talking about that, and so that's how I got to it. And then Mac was talking about, he was watching him. She was trying to get him to talk about, because it seemed like sometimes it's hard to get him to talk. Mm-hmm. And so he was watching a movie. He was trying to explain to her what the movie was, and he didn't know the name of the movie. He didn't know who was acting in it. He just knew that it was a movie about a kid that got kidnapped. And he was like being held in like the basement, and these ghosts of these kids were telling the kid how to get out. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I go, it's Black Phone. And so we actually did an episode of that, right?
I want to say so, yeah.
Yeah, I think we did. Mm-hmm. We did an episode where we talked about it. We talked about it. We wanted it to be a series. It was just a movie.
Yeah,
a movie. Mm-hmm. But we thought it should have been a series.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just remember when I first heard about it, I was like, I know I'm gonna like it because I like Ethan Hawke. You're not a fan of his.
I hate Ethan Hawke. Oh my god, I can't believe it.
Hold on, that was a strong word.
Okay,
hate's a strong word, Uncle Robert.
Right. That's what we tell the boys all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember watching it, and I was like, okay, if this was a different actor, Robert probably would have enjoyed it. Robert will probably want to watch it, but I was like, he has to watch it because it's such a good story.
Yeah.
It is such a damn good story. And I know you're a fan of whenever they stay true to like the time period.
Right.
What cars were out, what's popular that year, what music's popular, food and all that. It had everything. So I was like, hey, it's on Peacock. I think it was on Peacock. For at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, you need to watch it.
Or it was on Amazon Prime or something.
It was one of those. And you had it. I was like, you need to watch it. And you're like, okay, I'll watch it.
I didn't say it like that.
You're dragging your feet.
Why did I sound like a troll?
So you finally watched it. You're like, oh, damn it. It's actually really good. You're like, but I wish that they that they made it into it. Like this should be a series rather than a movie.
The only reason why I watched it is because Ethan Hawke had a mask on the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I should probably say it's a spoiler alert, but anyway.
But he was pretty demented on that.
Yeah, and his face was covered, which helped. Oh Lord, I can't stand that guy.
But I will say this: like one of the kids, what was creepy about it? I never told you this, but one of the kids on there that I think that helped him, showed him how to fight. Mm-hmm. He resembled you a lot when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought that was like kind of odd. I was like, he had the same hairstyle. Yeah, and he had the same like cheekbones.
He was a tough kid.
He was the tough one that stopped the bully from the very beginning. Yeah. So he was always looking out for him. So that's why I was like, oh yeah, Robert's gonna like this movie. Really good movie.
You know, it kind of reminded me of the Jason movie with Dream Warriors. Did you ever see that one? Is where these kids had superpowers.
You talking about Freddy?
Was it Freddy?
Yeah, Dream Warrior, because it's they're fighting him in the dream.
Yeah, that's right, Freddy. Because like Dream Warrior, Jason one was a girl that had kinetic power or telekinetic powers. You remember that one?
I think so.
Yeah, she had telekinetic powers, and I think she rose her dad. She rose her dad from the water.
I wasn't going to understand that. Definitely not going to understand that.
I know that's fine. Though. That's fine. It's he rose. But anyway, but yeah, it kind of reminded me of those movies because there was like kind of supernatural-ish. Jets and Girls, but.
So there was just like one scene that made me jump where I was like, why did they have to have, he was the kid that was floating. Yeah. He was like upside down. And I was like, why?
Yeah. That's kind of.
Why would you do that? That's creepy. If you're in the supernatural or you're dead or something, your ghost, why would you do that to scare the living? Right. That's weird.
I know I could probably edit this out, but Luke reached out to me tonight about, I told you about that outing he was wanting to do. Yep. And I can't do it because I have to work. So I told him, I said, hey, afterwards, if you want to come onto the show and talk about the outing or promote your YouTube channel, you can come back on. And he agreed to do it.
Awesome.
So we haven't had him on in a while since season.
I will say this. I think the last time you talked to him, I wasn't there.
Really?
Because you went to his place.
No, we went to the Mineola conference. That's the last time I talked to him in person.
I'm talking about the show, though. Him being on the show. Right. Y'all actually went over there.
Oh, the first time we went? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think, did we talk to him, me and you?
Yeah. We talked to him, I think, on season 5. He was one of the openers.
Was he?
Yeah. We gotta go back and look because I know he.
I'm getting old. I don't remember.
No. That's fine. But yeah, when we went out to go, we went to his house in. So we went out to his house as me, Ash, and Chris Collops.
Tucker didn't go, right?
No, Tucker didn't make it past episode 2. So he didn't make it past episode 2. So
we had cut him loose because he didn't like Johnny Cash.
Man, that was really. I think I talked about him leaving the show.
Yeah,
because originally I know we're jumping around subjects here, but originally, like when I had the concept for this show, you were always my first choice. But at the time, I think. You were with Blair and the boys, and
they were bebes.
Yeah, they were she was either pregnant or y'all just had the babies or something like that. So you were full time dad, and it was because the boys were like preemies. So you were always my first choice. Yeah, because I remember when I came up with the idea, I approached you first. I said, "What do you think about doing this with me?" And you go, "What did you say?" It was before the.
I just remember going to, or when you told me that, I go, is it Bigfoot magazine?
Right.
I think that was the first thing I said.
Yeah.
Or is it a whole new thing? And you were like, it's a whole new thing. It's just a podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, podcast? I don't know. I don't know. At that time, I was like, I don't think I can see myself doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't understand.
So you were my first choice, and then my second choice was
Michael Rosenbaum.
No.
Oh.
Steven Tucker. Because like because that the
second?
Huh?
Second?
He's my second, yeah. Because at the time I wanted to talk about wrestling, I wanted to talk about Bigfoot, I wanted to talk about paranormal, and we would always have really like rolling out conversations, being me and Tucker, about Bigfoot and paranormal and wrestling and stuff. And then my third choice was Chris Collops, because that dude can talk. He'll talk to a possum.
What the hell, Robert?
He would. He'd talk to a possum.
That's such a Theo Vaughn statement. He talks so much. He could talk to a possum.
Yeah.
Damn.
They call him Milk Judd. Anyway, so and then like my fourth choice, and this was the backup, was Ash. She was, and I told her this. I said, if they can't make it, I need you to step in. And so she said, okay. And so you couldn't make it because you had the kids, Steven Tucker.
I couldn't find the shoes.
And then Chris Collops. So it ended up,
you didn't even correct me.
I know. It was me, Ash, and Chris Collops. Mm-hmm. And that was the makeup of the first Bigfoot Club, first season. And I don't think I edited any show. So if you go back and listen to it, it's horrible. I can't even go back and listen to it.
But hey, look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us now. Look at us.
So, but yeah, back then it was, man, I don't know. It's hard for me to go back and listen to it.
Well, we did it.
Do you have anything else you want to cover?
No, not really. I think we covered a lot.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do this interview with Scott Hartley.
Yes.
And I hope you enjoy it.
Enjoy.
So if you would take us through what you were describing on the Bigfoot Club page.
Which one?
I've
had a couple experiences.
Okay, yeah.
Which one are you talking about?
I we want to hear both of them. If I thought you only had one, but if you got two, yeah, we want to hear it.
Okay. The first time was when I was 10 years old. How's that?
You were 10
Hello?
years. You were 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, the first time I was 10 years old, I was with my stepfather, and we went, took me hunting up in the Sierras here in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember exactly where, but I do remember we got up and I had a 22 that I still have that I had never used before or shot. And it was one of the last of the Winchester semi-automatics. Really accurate gun. So anyway, on this, we got up early in the morning. We went up on this ridge where it had been strip logged. In other words, they took every damn tree on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting on this rock, and he goes, I'm going to be on the other side of that ridge right there. So he goes over there, and so I'm sitting there, and I hear this rustling it was like just a patch of trees, which they were all pines, right behind me where I'm sitting. And so I'm sitting there, and then I hear this rustling behind me, which was just pine trees, all pine needles, and which I froze, scared the crap out of me. So I'm sitting there and I've got this gun and I'm trying to get off a safe and I won't go off a safe. So I sit there and whatever it was, it came right up behind my head, and I just sit there and then I heard it go away from me. And then finally my stepdad had come back over where I was at, and I told him what happened. And he said that he could see me, and I know there's no way. It was, oh, first of all, he figured out. He goes, we got up too early because we were supposed to get up at 4, but I think we got up at 3 instead. So we were out there like an hour earlier than he planned. So then he swears that he could see me and it was just a squirrel behind me, but he didn't have a scope or anything, so I know he couldn't have seen what was behind me. So anyway, so we go down to the center of this ravine, and he says, I gotta close my eyes. He goes, got up too early. He goes, I'm gonna sit here. So he did, and I'm sitting there I'm still scared from what I had experienced before, wondering what the hell was behind me. And so I'm sitting there staring up the hill, and I see this something moving across the hill, and so I nudged him. He goes, "What? I'm sleeping." And I go, get up, look at this. So he sits up and he looks and he sees the same thing I do, and he goes, "Oh, it's just another hunter. Don't worry about it." I'm like, okay. So I stared at it for a while, and then I couldn't see it anymore. But then I saw something else moving a little further across the hill, and I stared at it until it got light enough for me to see, and there was nothing there. So that was that, and then my second experience was at a place called, it's called Brett's Mill Campground, Bretz, and it's it's about, well, for me to drive from here in Fresno, I could be there in probably about 45 minutes. Anyway, it's a creek called Big Creek that I've been fishing since I was a kid. Since I was, I don't know, about probably 12, 13 years old. So actually I was up there with my dad and my stepmom and my sister and her boyfriend, who now she's been married to for like 35 years. So anyway, I had always growing up, I was always the one that would sleep outside. I didn't like sleeping in tents. So we're sitting there by the campfire, and it's, starting to get late and everybody's starting to get tired. And so, and I mean, it was just quiet as can be. No moon, pitch black. So we all decided to go to bed. So I throw my sleeping bag out next to the tent. I was next to the tent, and man, no more than maybe 10 feet away from the creek. So I'm laying there, and I'm kind of starting to doze off and go to sleep. And all I hear is a branch snap. And I would guess it to probably be, I don't know, maybe 3 inches in diameter. Big. It was a big stick. And it was just a snap. Big crack, loud crack. So I froze, scared the crap out of me. And then whatever it was, I froze, and it started walking down the creek, downstream. And so my dad heard it, so he got up and he comes out of the tent. So then I get up, I'm a tough guy then, and told him, my dad's like, "What is that?" And I go, "I don't know, but listen," I said, "it sounds like a person." because you could tell it was definitely 2 feet. And whatever it was, it didn't care what it stepped on. So all the way down the creek, you could hear branches snapping. Whatever it walked past, it was snapping branches.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it stepped on, it was snapping. It was snapping sticks and branches. So we're sitting there listening to it walk down the creek, and then all of a sudden it started making the sound that the best I could describe would be, when a baby's really, really upset and has that really annoying scream to it, real loud and quick, eh. It kind of was a cross between that and a whistle, the best I could describe it. And of all the like, even probably from the ones that you do that I've heard of the noises that it makes, I've heard one that was identical to what I heard. Okay. So it started making that noise, and my dad looks at me. He goes, and me too. I've grown up in the mountains, and I've heard just about everything you can hear, even from a deer scream getting shot to mountain lions to coyotes to everything, and even bear. And I never heard anything like it. My dad was saying the same thing. He goes, I've never heard anything like that in my life. He goes, I don't know what it is. So that was kind of the end of it. And it was, I don't know, it was probably 10 years later, because I used to go up to Klamath in Northern California in the redwoods and go salmon fishing every year. That, and one of the guys that I took with me, they have everything's Bigfoot up there, and they advertise it and all that.
Yeah.
So he went in, and the guy bought a poster for his kid that showed all the sightings in California. And then I was reading it, and the description was of sounds. It says it likes to watch people, and it sounds a high pitched shrieking sound. I'm like, that's what I heard when I was, with my dad, and. So ever since then, I'm convinced that's what I heard up there. Was by description, because I could never see anything. There was no moon that night, so I mean you could barely see the stars. But I mean it was just something I can't explain. But to me, I believe. That's the only thing that I can, any kind of all my of everything, and my experience. That's the only thing that I can come up with is it had something I couldn't explain, but it comes in line with matching. And even when I was 10 years old, what I saw, I remember walking across. It looked like a man walking, but it was big.
I wanted to get back to the first time that you were talking about in your story, but whenever you were 10 years old, what year was that? Do you recall?
I was born in 1964, so I had to be 74.
Okay. So that was in the Sierra, and you said that you were sitting down, your dad went to the ridge. And
no, I was sitting up on, he used to sit here. It was basically a granite rock, and I'm sitting on it, and there was like a rock behind me that I could lean back against too.
Yeah. So
was your question?
The question I had is that you didn't see it, right? You heard it come behind you. Your dad.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, I'm sitting there leaning. And he walked across. He was probably about maybe 100 yards away from me, because it was just a little ravine.
Mm-hmm.
So he went over there, and he's sitting there watching, looking for movement. And so I'm sitting there, and then I hear behind me, maybe like 15 feet, I heard this like noises, and if I remember right, it was all pine needles. So, but it was something moving right there, and it walked up, whatever it was, it came right up behind me, within maybe a few feet of my head. And I just froze. It just scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I imagine.
So I just froze, and I didn't move. and I'm looking across where he was at, and I could see the glow of the cigarette he was smoking. But and he said he could see me, but I don't see how he could have. He said he was at least 100 yards away, and same thing. Same thing then. It was no moon, pitch black.
Okay.
And then we went down, and he wanted to lay down and close his eyes, and that's when I'm sitting there staring, and I could see what I thought was a person walking across the hill about another 100 yards away, up the hill above me, and so I could just see something moving, and I could see him walking. It looked like him. I thought it was a man at first. That's when I woke my stepdad. I said, "Hey, look at that up there," and he could see what I was talking about, but he just said, "Oh, it's just another hunter. Don't worry about it." But I could say it was looked like a large, whatever it was. It was a tall, real tall man or whatever. It looked big to me. Like I said, watching, then it stopped, and I'm looking at it, and then all of a sudden I couldn't see it. And I'm looking all around, and I couldn't see it no more. And then maybe another 15 minutes or so, I could see something else moving in the same area. And then I stared at that exactly where I was at until the sun started coming up, and there was enough light that I could see where I was staring at, and there wasn't nothing there.
So when you saw him moving, and you asked your stepfather, "Hey, look," did you see like a silhouette? Did you see like a color of it, or I mean, how did you know? Did you think it was a hunter, or did you think it was like a Bigfoot?
Well, I didn't know what it was, and I said at that age I didn't even know what Bigfoot was. So I just, like I said, I could just see, I could definitely tell that it was walking, and couldn't really hear anything. I could just see something walking, legs. I could see legs, and I could see a body and a head, but it just looked like someone walking across the ravine above me.
Mm-hmm.
It was actual ravine. There was no creek or anything. It was just, you go down the hill and back up the hill.
Yep.
But it was above me on the ravine. I'm looking at whatever this is. I'm looking up the hill at it. And like I said, my stepdad, he could see it. He could see it and see it moving, but he's like, it's just another hunter. So I just took him at that and dismissed it as that's what it was.
I was just going to ask, did you think that it saw you looking at it? Do you think it noticed you, that you noticed it?
No, it's hard to know what
right.
I believe in them for sure, but I mean, it's hard to know. That's one thing nobody knows. What is their sight at night? How well can they see?
Right.
And nobody knows exactly what that is. And you talk to a lot of people, maybe you can get an idea of whether. But the thing was, when my buddy had bought that poster for his kid for about Bigfoot sightings, and I looked at the poster, and up in the area where I go up in the mountains, there's been lots of sightings up there. I actually, the bar I used to go to, I used to live out in the country and talk to a guy that a friend of mine I saw all the time, and he worked for PG&E, and I told him about my story, and he goes, I'm going to tell you something. He goes, but if anybody ever asks, or say anybody and they ask, I'm going to deny that I told you. And he worked for PG&E as a lineman, and they were up there. It's up by. I know where he was at. It's a little higher up from where I'm talking about, but it's PG&E has a lot of stuff up there.
Right.
And there's a couple hydro plant up above where he was at. And they were putting lines in or something. And he said he was, and the guys with him saw it too. He said that he was standing there, and all of a sudden he looked around. I don't know if you know what buckbrush is.
I do not.
Oh, it's common here. It's a bush, but it's something you don't want to walk through. It's got big, thick thorns on it.
Oh, it's a briar. They call it a briar over here, briar bush.
Okay, here in California they call it buckbrush.
Okay,
because it will mess you up.
Yep.
You walk through it. So and he's doing something, and he was looking down the hill. And he said all of a sudden he saw this thing just stand up in the middle of the buckbrush, and he said it had to be, a good 8 foot tall, and it said it just stood there, stared at him, and he's staring at it, and then he said then it just walked out of the brush and walked down the hill and disappeared. And he said it was described like everybody else. He said it was real tall and big and muscular and hairy and all that stuff like everybody else described it.
Yeah. I've actually had some stories out in East Texas over a couple of line guys out in a remote area, and they were chased out of it. Well, first they saw a Bigfoot, and it was throwing rocks at him, and he came down the pole. And as soon as he came down the pole, he ran to his truck, and as soon as he got to his truck, this thing started chasing him. Like it didn't want to chase him until he like started leaving. And as soon as he started leaving, it acted like it was like walking him out. And so he took off, and this thing was keeping up with his truck until he was down the road, and down the road it stopped and just walked back into the brush. So I've heard stories about linemen like that as well.
So it ran and was keeping up with him.
Yeah, it was keeping up. It was keeping up with his truck, but it was kind of like shadowing him out of the area. Kind of wanting him out. But it wasn't. It wasn't aggressively chasing him. It was just waiting until he got into his truck and he started taking off. He said he was looking at the rear view mirror, and this thing was keeping up with his truck until he like decided to put on the gas on the road, and it stopped and went back into the brush. So it was,
I don't know how fast he was going.
Probably like 45, 55.
It was keeping up with it.
It was keeping up with it.
Ooh, yeah.
So
yeah, I've seen a few. I've seen a few things that I can't explain.
Yeah.
And heard noises. I had one really weird experience. I don't know. I was probably around 18, 19, 20, and I was hunting with my cousin, and we had went up there, and we had went up on this ridge, and another time I saw something, but I couldn't tell you what it was either. I just thought about this one. So anyway, we're up on a ridge, and we kind of I got there. So why don't you go down there? And he goes, I'm not going down there. He was afraid that he would get lost and not come back up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somehow he did end up getting turned around and got lost. So I came back over the hill and went back down it was my vehicle. Well, I've got an old 69 Bronco. And I went down by the vehicle, and I'm sitting there watching, and I'm yelling for him. His name was Dan. I'm yelling, "Hey, Dan!" But then I hear what? And I go, "Where are you?" And I said, "Right here." And I go, "Where?" And then I didn't hear nothing anymore. And then about 5 minutes later, then I see him actually walking toward me. And but then right prior to that, I thought I saw something walking around, and I thought it was a bear, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
Mm-hmm.
didn't stand up or anything, but I just thought it was kind of odd because I don't see too many bear in that area where I was at.
It was on all fours?
And yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, yeah, I bet you heard all kinds of interesting stuff, huh?
Yeah, I mean, was your friend, was he actually saying, hey, that was him though, right?
No, I know, because I asked him, and he said no, it wasn't him.
Wow, that's
yeah. You ever heard?
Yeah,
I mean, I've kind of heard stuff about they'll mimic people.
Yeah,
but I've never. Have you heard people talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. I've heard people talk about. Steven, you've heard it, right?
Yeah, but I've heard it was like a bad omen if you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
You know, because he was acknowledging him and stuff, and it was like a oof. I don't know. I wouldn't call it Bigfoot. I don't know. That's Are they known to really mimic?
There's Native American lore about mimics like that. I forgot what tribe.
I've even heard stuff about them actually saying something to people.
Yeah, yeah.
Saying words. I've heard those stories that they've said actually words, which I'd imagine they've been around enough, and if they do what they say as far as watch people and listen, like whatever it was that I saw when I was 14, 15, whatever was there, like I said, it had to be there at least probably an hour before we all went to bed.
Yeah.
It was there all that time. And then until it got totally quiet and I was just about to go into sleep is when it decided it was bored and decided to take off, start walking.
Making noise, yeah.
I guarantee you the first thing, whatever it was, the first thing that it stepped on, I would have had a hard time breaking it across the tree. I mean, it was a big stick.
This is the second story, right?
The second time, yeah, okay. Right.
How far along was your first incident from your second? What was the time frame?
Well, the first time I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I remember because it's the first time I ever went deer hunting, and then the second time, I try to think of the timeline on the second one, and I'm just not 100%. I think I was probably around 15, and I might have even been 16.
Okay,
but I don't think I was any more than 16 years old, and it was a creek that I already knew very well. Still one of my favorite fishing holes.
Now I wanted to ask you, while you were asleep and you got awoken with this snapping of the branches and the sticks and stuff, did you smell anything at all?
No, I never. No, I don't know. Yeah, because I know that's one of the things that So people ask me because I know that's a lot happens a lot. The skunk ape and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I never smelled anything at all.
So
that's one thing that kind of puzzled me.
Yeah, so
that's what's said a lot, but I know I didn't smell anything.
So whenever you hear like the consecutive snapping, because I've actually been in East Texas and I've heard a Bigfoot come through. Like the guy I was with, he's my mentor and taught me everything I know, and he would tell me, because hey, this thing's gonna come through here about 3 a.m. It's gonna make a racket. It's gonna let us know it's here, and then it's gonna leave, and then it's gonna come back around 6 a.m. And so we're sitting there like around 3 a.m, and we could hear these, and to me it sounded like shotgun blasts. But he was telling me, because no, he's breaking branches. So he was walking down like this tree line, and he was just snapping trees as he was walking. And he didn't make a sound, but you could hear the snap, 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 snap. And I thought, someone's shooting. And he goes, no, he's breaking branches. And so when he came around at 6, he yelled like at us really loud, so loud that it vibrated my chest. So, but this screamed the one you were talking about. Isn't that something that I've never heard of that. Have you heard that, Stephen? That story like that? That's actually interesting.
Yeah.
About the baby crying, and it was like almost like a whistle.
Mm-hmm.
That is creepy.
That is creepy.
Well, yeah, it was a real high pitched noise, and it was like a scream. And I have heard of all the stuff I've seen on Bigfoot and stuff. But most stuff I see is on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard of one or TikTok, but I have heard of one that sounded exactly like what I heard that night. But it was the same thing. It was like what you were saying. It started walking down the creek, and it was walking right next to the creek. But it was like that's why I would wonder if they could see you that well at night, because it didn't care what it stepped on, and all the way down. Even after my dad got up and he came out of the tent, he could hear it just the same as I could. As it's walking down the side of the creek, you could hear it. But it didn't care what it stepped on, and probably walking next to stuff and breaking branches off of trees. But you just hear the crack and snap of trees or branches, until it got maybe, I would guess, probably about close to a quarter mile down the creek, and that's when it started making that screaming noise, and it was make the hair raise on your back, because it was just and that is the best way I could describe it. When a baby is really, really upset, and they when they're really mad, and they're really sounded like that, but it was so high pitched, it was almost like a whistle.
How long did you think that scream went off? Maybe
from the time it started.
Yeah, you think like 7-8 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, something like that?
No. Actually, I was asking my dad about it here. I don't know, not too long ago. My dad's getting old. He's going to be 88 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my mom in COVID, but my dad's still going.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, but so he did remember it, because I was asking about it, because his mind's he's starting to not remember stuff like he used to. Mm-hmm. But he does remember that instance that happened, and remembers that he didn't know what it was.
Wow.
But I would guess the screaming part you were asking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. My dad heard it too. We were standing right next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, and I'd say it went on it was going until you couldn't hear it no more.
So it was walking away while it was still screaming?
Yeah, it was still walking down the creek. It started making the noise, and it was until it got out of hearing distance.
Wow, that's crazy.
It seemed like it was still screaming.
That's crazy. Wow.
Mm-hmm. That would make my hair on the back of my neck.
I've had an incident like that, Scott. I was in the Red River between Oklahoma and Texas, and it was during the daytime, and I was with some people, and they asked me to do a scream, because I'm pretty good at doing a Bigfoot scream, and so I did a scream, and this thing across the Red River, I couldn't see it, but I could hear it. It screamed back at me, and it continued to scream until you couldn't hear it no more, but you could hear it getting further and further away, and it was screaming back at me. And like I had my cousin, and I had his wife was with us, and they wanted to go do a Bigfoot outing, and we went during the day. And when that happened, he goes, "I think it's time to go." He didn't want to stick around anymore. So, but I've had something like that happen to me, similar, where it's walking away and you can hear it screaming, but it continued to scream as it was walking away. I was going to ask you, did you think right before you went to bed, did you feel like you were being watched or something was not right in the area?
No, I didn't sense anything at all.
Okay.
And I was laying there, and I'm laying on my back, and I'm looking up the stars. It's all trees, and they're shooting straight up in the sky. And I'm just staring at the stars, and I closed my eyes, and was just starting to drift off to the street, sleep when the first step it took, it snapped the branch. I don't know. I would say it probably width-wise, if I was to guess the branch, say width-wise, I'd said it probably 4 or 5 inches wide.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big branch, and it just snapped in half like nothing. And then by then it just started walking down the creek, and from walking downstream from where I was at, and so I mean the whole time, me and my dad sitting there listening to him the whole time. It's going down the creek, and it's just breaking all kinds of stuff, and but no rock thrown or all that. I've never experienced any of that stuff.
Yeah. So to me,
but in that same spot,
right,
in that same creek, me and my cousin used to go up there all the time and fish when we were younger. And
nothing like that.
Well, no, there was one time I'm trying to remember. We were trying to figure out what it was. We were both, because we would both always same thing. We'd always sleep. We'd always stoke a fire and then sleep next to it. And
Scott, so I was going to ask you. So to me, that story, the one about it walking through the creek and making noise and screaming as walking away, because like I've heard stories, and I'm sure Steven, you can back me on this. I've heard stories about like people see how big this, because when people actually do see it, they see it's massive, and then it it's making a bunch of noise, and then whenever it decides to leave, you can't hear it leave. It's quiet. And so for this story that you're telling me, it sounds like it was probably like a juvenile. I was thinking, Steven, what are you thinking? So it's making all this kind of racket like it's not supposed to, like it wants to be heard. Like maybe you were in its path of fishing in that area and it wanted to, or there's maybe some persimmons.
No, I wasn't fishing. Like I said, it was at night.
Right.
And where I was to where it was at I was probably about 10 feet from the creek.
Okay.
The edge of the creek. And at that point where I was at, the other side of the creek wasn't much more than 10, 15 feet to get to the other side. And it was right on the other side.
Right. Okay.
I could, when that first branch broke, I mean, obviously something's there. I just froze. And I didn't move until I heard my dad come out and he goes, "Scott, you all right?" And that's when I jumped up and got out of my sleeping bag and, "Oh, my dad's there. I'm okay."
No, what the point I was trying to make is that you were probably in its area that it likes, that you guys were there, and it was pissed off, and then it was making noise, letting you know it. That was the point I was trying to make. Does that make sense?
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
I know it didn't, and maybe it was even trying to make as much noise as it could, but
yeah,
it didn't care what it stepped on, and it was stepping on all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
That I know. It was obvious it didn't care where it went or what it was doing. It was just making noise.
Steven, you got any questions?
No, I think you were right about it being a juvenile, probably.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. So,
it was heavy. For what I heard break the first time, in order to break that, you couldn't be light.
Right. Okay.
For sure.
It'd have to have some weight on it.
Yep. Well, Scott,
snap stuff, something that big. Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it, and you sharing our like these stories with us.
No problem.
It really means a lot.
Yeah,
to us.
I had a stroke a couple of years ago, and I'm still trying to get over it.
Okay, well,
so I haven't been up the mountains much, but I got a whole new. I've been watching this stuff for a while, and I got a whole new way of thinking and looking when I'm up in the mountains.
Okay, well, whenever
from now on. And I saw one. I saw one that was kind of neat. I was telling my wife yesterday that it was the day before yesterday that it was the what's the Patterson, the famous one?
Yeah,
from the 60s.
Roger Patterson.
Yeah, it was that video, but they had AI'd it. And you could tell after they AI'd it, and I had never noticed this before, but you could tell it had to be a female because it had some largely sagging breasts.
Yes.
So yeah, try if you can look that one up. It's of that clip that they AI'd it.
Okay.
And you can definitely tell if it was a female.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll try to find it, and I'll link it to you too, also. And but thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you do a full recovery from your stroke.
I'm getting there.
Okay,
I'm getting there. It's just time, but
absolutely.
I'm getting almost close to them.
All right,
I just turned 60. So I can't retire yet.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll check on you from time to time if you don't mind.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
You have a good evening.
You too, Scott.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
If you are listening to us for the first time, thank you for joining us. If you are a regular listener, double thank you for your continued support. We appreciate every one of you, and your engagement means the world to us. To help us keep providing quality content, please take a moment to subscribe, comment, like, follow, and give us a 5-star review. Your feedback truly helps us improve and grow. If you have any stories you'd like to share or any concerns you'd like to discuss, we would love to hear from you. Please email us at bigfootclub1@gmail.com